The NBA offseason has officially ended as the season starts tomorrow, so we will be recapping the entire 2024 NBA offseason in this week's episode of In Case You Missed It, the weekly recap on this channel that drops every Monday at 3. It is only fitting to discuss the 76ers first since they made the biggest free agency signing of any NBA team as they added Paul George. At the time of this edition, many jumped the gun to say the 76ers were the biggest threat to the Celtics in the East, although I wouldn't go that far. Given some of the moves we saw from other teams in the East, the 76ers are still dangerous. Philly didn't stop after the PG signing, though, as they would end up adding Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, Reggie Jackson, Caleb Martin, and Yabusele, while re-signing Kelly Oubre and Kyle Lowry. The quality depth of this team is amazing, and with injury-prone stars, it will be massive. To add more positivity to their offseason, the 76ers were able to extend Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Explanation as to why that is good is not needed. It is clear that the 76ers had the most active and impressive free agency, but the Nuggets are on the other end of that spectrum. If this were 5 years ago, the Nuggets adding both Russell Westbrook and Dario Saric would be huge, but in today's game, it is not as significant. The significant thing that happened for the Nuggets was them losing KCP to the Magic for nothing this offseason, leaving a massive hole in their backcourt that will prove to be detrimental. They didn't do anything to address the loss either, which is crazy for a team that just lost in the second round, a year removed from an NBA championship. They got worse while the team that beat them arguably got better by making just one move. After a conference finals run, it looked as if the Minnesota Timberwolves were just going to run it back all offseason as they hit big in the draft and brought in some high-level minimum vets. Breaking news would sweep the NBA as it was then announced that the Timberwolves had traded Karl Anthony Towns, an all-star, to the New York Knicks in exchange for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. I won't go in depth on this deal as there are multiple videos on my channel where I discuss it, but I will say that I was and am still a fan of it for Minnesota as their depth is unmatched and that the deal allows them to keep Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. An absolute shocker of a deal, but could it push the Wolves even farther in the playoffs? I guess we'll see soon. Cat heading to the Knicks may prove to be disastrous or exceptional, depending on the health and play of him, but no matter what, the Knicks were clear winners in the offseason as they filled a position of need with an all-star. Prior to the Cat deal, actually months prior to it, the Knicks were able to re-sign OG Anunoby to a 5-year deal, and within the same time frame, they extended Jalen Brunson on a pay cut. Absolutely massive moves that followed their blockbuster deal of the offseason that was made with their crosstown rivals, the Brooklyn Nets. In this deal, the Knicks acquired Mikal Bridges, and in theory, it is a perfect fit, but looking at his new jump shot, it could have a negative effect on the team. Still a successful offseason on paper. The Brooklyn Nets got a huge return for Mikal Bridges, but outside of that trade, they were rather quiet, as their only other move was bringing back Nick Claxton on a deal that they overpaid him with. With Nick Claxton staying in Brooklyn, top suitor, the OKC Thunder shifted their focuses towards a different free agent center in New York, and were successful in that pursuit as Isaiah Hartenstein agreed to a deal that paid him, well, more than Jalen Brunson. This move was a necessity for the Thunder, though, as they needed the size in their front court, and despite the absurd amount of money they gave iHeart, they were still able to re-sign Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. Those three signings failed to include their very first move of the offseason, as the Thunder traded their liability Josh Giddey in exchange for Alex Caruso, without giving up any draft picks. Ultimate finesse job in that deal, and the ultimate offseason for a team that finished as the 1 seed last year. Adding another guard in Josh Giddey without getting any draft compensation is simply a move you expect from the Bulls, and outside of extending Pat Williams, they didn't do much. Check that. They got a small return for DeMar DeRozan, who was acquired by the Kings via a sign and trade. The Kings added DeMar, and no matter the questions about the fit, it boosted the half-court scoring in a massive way. Although getting DeMar was technically a bigger move, the Kings' ability to retain Sixth Man of the Year finalist and winner in my eyes, Malik Monk, was the biggest move for them all offseason. It will be interesting to see how it plays out, and if it all works out for the Kings, they must write a thank you letter to the Spurs for helping facilitate the DeMar deal by taking on Harrison Barnes. Outside of the draft and getting Harrison Barnes, the Spurs' only notable thing was signing Chris Paul, the perfect mentor and point guard to play alongside Wemby and the young Spurs. Getting CP3 would not have been possible if it weren't for the Warriors who waived him prior, but that wasn't the only NBA great they lost this offseason as Klay took his talents to Dallas. Losing both of these two is not going to be as negative as it would seem, as they were replaced with DeAnthony Melton, Buddy Hield, and Kyle Anderson, vets that will fit their system instilled around their MVP Steph Curry, who was also extended this offseason. There are many doubts with this team still, but they are improved. Now, if the Warriors were to trade for Jazz star Lauri Markkanen this offseason, the narrative around them would be different, but Markkanen signed an extension in Utah that eliminated any possibility of him being dealt for a while. That was the only major move for Utah, but teams that did even less were the Grizzlies and Rockets, who did absolutely nothing, the Heat, who only replaced Caleb Martin with Alec Burks, and the Lakers, whose only move was re-signing LeBron. In the Lakers' defense, both of their targets ended up heading to the Wizards, and there are restrictions in place preventing a deal until midway through the 2025 season now. Those two players are Jonas Valanciunas, who has recently signed restrictions, and Malcolm Brogdon, who has recently traded restrictions. Yes, if you didn't know, Brogdon was traded from the Blazers to the Wizards. In this deal, the Blazers were clear winners as they got Denny Advia, a young wing that is severely underrated, making it a great trade for them in my eyes. The Blazers' draft choice of Donovan Clingan proved to be good in preseason as well, and now they have 3 starting caliber centers. The Pelicans are definitely trying to get their hands on one of those centers as they have a clear deficiency there. But they fixed their biggest problem from 2024 and added a true point guard in DeJounte Murray. Early in the offseason, the Pelicans traded for the Hawks' DeJounte Murray in a deal that surprisingly didn't include Brandon Ingram nor Clint Capella. There were some other moves that aren't worth noting from the Pelicans, but outside of the Murray trade, the Hawks did not do anything. If the Hawks don't play up to the level they can, there is no doubt the Magic will be jumping the gun to add some of their players, as Orlando retained every player but Joe Ingles from last season's team and signed KCP. Not exactly enough to correct their issues, but I guess it was better than adding just Klay Thompson like they planned on. The winner of the Klay sweepstakes was the Dallas Mavericks, who went from the finals to reloading their roster by replacing Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Green, and Derrick Jones Jr. with Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Easily winners of the offseason, but I almost forgot they traded Tim Hardaway Jr. to the Pistons for Quentin Grimes, who was easily an upgrade, making the view of the Mavs are winners infinitely more clear. Yes, the Pistons got finessed in the Grimes deal, but they seemingly let it happen as adding vets around Cade Cunningham, their star that they extended this offseason, was their number one goal. In addition to the Tim Hardaway Jr. addition, the Pistons added Malik Beasley and Tobias Harris, moves that aren't really ideal if you look at it from a standpoint that the Pistons should focus on the development of their young players at the same positions, but hey, the Pistons will be the Pistons. Now, if the Pistons were competitive like the Bucks, adding these vets would be more understandable. The Bucks did add vets that were much needed as they will help the Horrid defense improve as well as improve the shot making around their stars. The additions of Taurean Prince, DeLon Wright, and Gary Trent Jr. will prove to be big during the 2025 season. Gary Trent Jr.'s former team, the Raptors, didn't do much but extend 2 of their cornerstone players in Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickley. The Clippers did a lot, yet everything is more of a wait and see as the players they added are supposed to complement their stars who are unreliable. The Suns made moves that are going to be impactful day one as they added Tyus Jones, Monte Morris, and Mason Plumlee to correct many issues from 2024. And the Hornets were the last team to really add anyone as they got Josh Green in the Klay Thompson trade as well as re-signing Miles Bridges. The Pacers, Cavs, and Celtics didn't do anything major, but they extended the following players. Indiana extended Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, Andrew Nembhard, and TJ McConnell. Cleveland extended Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. And the defending champs, the Boston Celtics, extended Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White, and of course their best player, Sam Hauser. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of In Case You Missed It. Yes, I've been excited to make this offseason recap. This is for all of you who may have forgotten about some moves that went down this offseason, as well as some of you who just weren't paying attention all offseason. But yeah, NBA season starts tomorrow. The first in-season weekly recap will drop Monday at 3. I hope y'all enjoyed this recap. If you want to see my 10 craziest takes of the upcoming season, click on the video on the middle of the screen. Y'all stay safe. Have a good one. Bye.